So apparently, hooking up with your literal assassin in the middle of a live stream murder game is considered romantic now? Someone call the morality police, because Fable for the End of the World definitely deserves to be banned for this chaotic, stabby, sapphic disaster. And yes, I devoured every single page without shame. If your ideal love story includes morally questionable lesbians with knives, emotionally unavailable cyborg assassins, and trauma during the apocalypse, congratulations! Your new obsession just dropped. Let's unpack this absolute mess. If you've ever rooted for a walking red flag with a knife, you're in the right place. Imagine trying to sip your coffee while reading about New Amsterdam, a drowned nightmare where debt collectors feel scarier than mutant lizards. And even saying a polite thank you could kill you. Here, debt slavery is the economy. Corporate overlords like Karis monetize human suffering through live-stream death hunts called the Lamb's Gauntlet, where indebted teens nominated by their families are hunted for sport by elite assassins. Think the Hunger Games, but Ava Reed swerves past that, pushing the emotional damage further, deeper, darker. Reading it feels like staring at your own nightmares, except those nightmares have a live stream chat. Tell me in the comments, would you survive a world like this or fold on day one? The world feels drenched in decay and despair. Half-collapsed buildings coated in moss, radiation zones where nothing lives but nightmares, and radiation-mutated creatures that lurk beneath murky waters. Everyone moves via rickety rafts, trading food and salvage like currency. Climate disaster crashed through a broken economy, and Reed weaves capitalistic exploitation into every detail. It's uncanny how much this setting echoes real fears. Student debt, climate collapse, surveillance culture, with the stakes dialed from worry to fight or die. And speaking of surveillance, it's relentless. Every action is tracked, every death live commented. People cheer while teenagers die. I paused mid-chapter and stared at my screen thinking, this is horrifyingly recognizable. The difference? In this world, you don't just scroll past. Your life could flash on the screen next. It's not dystopia for the sake of edgy vibes. It's grounded and scarily plausible. There's no clean break between the world we're in and the one Reed imagines, just a few more degrees of desperation. If you're still breathing after that, don't worry, it only gets worse from here. New Amsterdam didn't drown overnight. Reed drops breadcrumbs of a multi-stage apocalypse. Rising sea levels from unchecked climate shifts, followed by infrastructure failure, food shortages, and finally a brief, devastating conflict over dwindling resources that left parts of the country radioactive. The last straw was the collapse of the power grid. Governments crumbled, utilities vanished, and water surged through broken levees into city streets. Corporate interests swooped in as stabilizers, offering basic services for a price. Within months, private militias enforced order. The slow-motion breakdown seeps through these pages like a toxic flood, reminding you this ruined world grew out of our own mistakes. Smash that like button if your climate anxiety just spiked. At the top of this hellscape sits Karis, a trillion-dollar behemoth that swallowed governments, banks, and even the military. Their boardrooms are palaces drifting on artificial platforms far above the drowned suburbs where real people struggle. Under them, regional managers police debtors, renegotiating survival loans with drones that zap uncooperative citizens. Every resource, from drinking water to rafts, is rationed through microtransactions. Families accumulate generational debt just by being born. One misstep, one missed payment, and you're shaken out as a lamb in the gauntlet. Karis' motto is, "You owe us your life." They own the world's currency and, increasingly, its inhabitants. Would you rather owe your soul to Karis or fight in the gauntlet? Drop your answer. No wrong choices, just horrifying ones. Inessa is 17 and spent. She skins real animals to survive, dodges debt collectors, and tries to keep a failing taxidermy shop afloat with her brother Luca. Their lives are a daily grind of hunger, fear, and betrayal. Then there's her mother, Mariana. She nominates Inessa for the Lamb's Gauntlet not out of mercy, but because she's cold and desperate. I recognized a punch to the gut. sibling protectiveness, feeling disposable, carrying trauma alone. It hit harder than any flash sale grief I've ever felt. Quick poll, what would you do if your mom sold you out to pay the gas bill? Inessa's narration feels like picking at a scab you know you should leave alone. Her voice is raw, bitter, and sharp-edged. She's tired, but she never gets to stop. Every choice she makes is between two terrible outcomes, and somehow she still manages to crack a joke or scowl through it. The first few chapters gave me full-body tension. I kept thinking, if this girl doesn't make it out, I'm going to commit book-based arson. And then we have Melanoy, an angel in name only, a corporation-engineered assassin whose body and mind have been rewritten for kill efficiency. She's elegant, lethal, and emotionally hollow. But there's a glitch in the system. Boxed memories leak, hesitations flare. Her stoic shell cracks, and you realize she's not empty. She's broken. Melanoy's creation reads like a dark tech spec. Neural implants tethered directly to her amygdala, synthetic muscle fibers woven beneath her skin for reflex boosts, and a constant nanite stream repairing tissue after each kill. Her mind is monitored through satellite uplinks, sending performance data back to Karis in real time. Any sign of hesitation flags her for recalibration or complete erasure. Cameras and drones patrol even the soggiest outposts. No corner of New Amsterdam is beyond the corporation's watchful eye. Every glitch in Mel's behavior is logged, analyzed, and used against her, feeding the very system she rebels from. Don't tap out yet, we're only just hitting glitch mode. Melanoy's whole character feels like a corrupt file that keeps running dangerous code. Her assassin training is flawless, except when it isn't. And those gaps in performance, those sudden moments of memory or emotion, are terrifying. It's like watching a weapon remember that it was once a child. Her glitch moments are subtle at first. Hesitations, flickers of empathy, but they build into something devastating. Every time she spares Inessa, every time she pauses instead of pulling the trigger, it's another thread in a twisted tapestry of unintended autonomy. By the time she starts questioning orders, you realize this isn't just a malfunction. It's a rebellion of identity. Like this kind of brain-melting character study, hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Read never lets you relax into it. Every fragile bit of growth feels temporary. Like the story's reminding you again and again that nothing good stays unbroken here, especially not people. Let's take a quick detour to see what's happening with the supporting cast. Luca, Inessa's 15-year-old brother, is her partner in crime. Literally. He's the one scrounging for mutated animal parts to sell to black market taxidermists, keeping his sister housed and fed. His loyalty is fierce, his dark humor sharper than any blade. Mariana, the matriarch who sells her daughter's life for a debt reprieve, appears only in flashback. She's unhinged, grief-stricken by abandonment, and cornered by bills so high they burn. Her choice to nominate Inessa is monstrous, yes, but it also exposes how a society built on exploitation can warp even a mother's love into survival calculus. Be honest, would you forgive Mariana or ghost her from the afterlife? This romance starts with one girl trained to kill the other. Not a metaphor, really kill. Their chemistry is brutal, rivalrous, and punishing. There's no casual romance here, just razor-sharp tension, literal blade encounters, and constant fear. I felt nauseous, thrilled, horrified, hopeful, all at once. Rooting for them felt like rooting for a grenade. If this ship is morally incorrect, I don't want to be right. Then comes the cabin moment. They patch each other's wounds, share scraps of food, sit by a dying fire. They pretend to be people, not predator and prey. That silence was a sucker punch. I knew shipping them was wrong, and yet irresistible. It's coursing with unhealthy obsession, shifting loyalties forged in blood. 1 minute Mel is pulling a trigger. The next, she's watching Inessa sleep, breathing proof she's still alive. That's the moment I whispered into my heating pad, "No, don't do this," and meant it. Their intimacy doesn't follow any normal path. There's no banter, flirt, kiss routine. There's distrust, violence, and tentative mercy. You're watching two feral animals try to build a nest out of broken glass. I was begging them to back away while also flipping pages like I was being paid in dopamine hits. It's enemies to lover turned into a weaponized trope. Tell me your favorite unhinged romance below. I need new material to emotionally destroy myself with. Let's break down a single round of the gauntlet, live and lethal. On day 1, the Lamb receives a 12-hour head start flagged by blinking drones. The Angel then syndicates their kill menu: gas grenades, tasers, razor drones circling overhead. There's no covert mission here. The corporation broadcasts real-time analytics, heat maps of expected Lamb movements, kill probabilities per tracker, and a live chat full of cheer squads or wagering bets. Every second is scored. The Angel uses scan goggles that paint the terrain with digital overlays marking safe zones and lethal hazards. If a Lamb breaches a red zone, the corporation reroutes a tracker missile. It's a hyper-gamified manhunt where survival is a spectator sport and failure means instant death. No mercy, no second chances. Still think you can win the gauntlet? Prove it in the comments. This isn't a fairy tale. Melanoy is a murderer and Anessa is made of scars, both physical and emotional. Their connection isn't healing. It's a choice to stay together when every instinct screams not to. There's no "I forgive you." It's more like "I see you, even when you terrify me." Lying awake, I questioned why I was rooting for two broken, dangerous people. But that's the point. If you've ever fought your own stupid impulses, you get it. Rooting for a romance that feels like self-sabotage isn't just addictive, it's devastating. They're not trying to save each other. They're not even trying to be good. They're trying to survive, and sometimes the only lifeline is the last person who tried to kill you. It's the kind of story that grabs your darkest inner thoughts and goes, "Oh hey, you thought this was about healing? Babe, we're in the pain spiral now." Reed's prose shifts gears to match the scene's heartbeat. In high-tension hunts, sentences fragment into staccato bursts, each syllable a gulp of adrenaline. In quieter cabin interludes, paragraphs unwind with slower cadences and lingering metaphors, letting you feel the damp wood and hear the crackling embers. These pacing choices aren't accidental. They mirror the girl's internal states, racing panic versus fragile calm. That contrast makes the action scenes feel hyper-real and the quiet scenes almost painfully intimate. Every step in this world is survival. Storms, genetic horrors, drones, corporate patrols. But the most perilous scene? When they talk, not shoot, genuine vulnerability. For Melanoy, admitting fear. For Anessa, admitting trust. Those moments felt more lethal than any sniper bullet. I've been through arguments with exes, therapy sessions, awkward silences. Nothing measured up to watching two people use words to pierce each other's defenses. Their emotional intimacy was the most heart-poundingly dangerous thing I've read. There's a moment with a cup of water, and I swear I almost cried. Not because it's romantic in the traditional sense, but because in this awful world, that tiny gesture screamed volumes. That was when I realized this book wasn't just messing with me, it was dismantling me. Drop a skull emoji in the chat if this book emotionally compromised you too. Reed's world isn't sci-fi fantasy, it's a mirror. The debt economy, privatized survival, media consumption of suffering, every scary headline made it onto the page. A streaming murder spectacle isn't so far off from cancel culture or viral tragedy reels. Anessa watching her own death broadcast was gut-wrenching, like watching real-life tragedies unfold in real time. Reviews praised how these themes interweave without feeling preachy, but some readers wished for more world-building. How did New Amsterdam fall? What about the rest of the world? The center of tension stays intimate. Reed's focus is survival, not revolution. What stuck with me most was the normalization of cruelty. Everyone is complicit because that's just life now. It made me think about what compromises I've made just to get by, and how thin the line is between discomfort and dehumanization. Ava Reed didn't set out to give a message. Her books are built to make readers feel and think. She drew much of the financial control in Fable from the US medical insurance system where debt literally kills. She also leaned into real-world fears over climate and surveillance. Fable echoes the 2000s young adult dystopian boom, but with modern rage and disillusionment from Gen Z and younger millennials. In interviews about writing young adult, Reed said she wants to speak directly to teens, not spoon-feed adults a sanitized version. She intentionally donates emotional authenticity, not fluffy heroism. Every shredded relationship and near-miss moment feels personal, real, and messy. There's also a defiance in Reed's writing. She doesn't coddle the reader, and she sure doesn't give neat endings. Her work lives in the discomfort, in the morally gray, in the line between affection and annihilation. It's exactly what readers of this generation want. Stories that trust them to handle chaos. If you made it this far, you've definitely earned your emotional damage badge. Wear it proudly. If you grew up reading Katniss Haul a Bow Through Fire or Katniss Angle Arrow in the Capitol, Fable will feel familiar, yet sharply updated. Unlike most young adult dystopias that hinge on rebellion, this story zeroes in on survival and intimacy. It borrows the high-stakes death games from the Hunger Games, but swaps totalitarian spectacle for corporate bloodlust. The tragic love triangle in Divergent meets the techno-body horror of Altered Carbon, while the dark humor echoes The Last of Us wry banter. Reed's the kind of writer who salvages genre tropes and then reassembles them into something shocking and new. Smash subscribe if you want more books that ruin your genre expectations. If you're here for morally upright characters, clean romance arcs, and hopeful world building, this book is not your safe space. This is for the girlies, gender neutral, who want to be emotionally wrecked, scream into their pillows, and question every crush they've ever had. If you've ever paused a movie to yell nope at the screen and then keep watching anyway, if you like romance that might actually kill you, this one's yours. Everyone else, proceed with emotional armor and maybe a pre-scheduled therapy session. Send this to a friend who needs to read this, or at least suffer with you. Reactions to Fable have ranged from ecstatic nostalgia to frustrated whiplash. Fans of early 2010s young adult dystopia praise the nostalgic thrills and unflinching social commentary. Critics loved Reed's lyrical yet raw prose and her knack for gutting you emotionally. Queer readers found catharsis in a sapphic romance that refused to be sidelined. Yet, many called out the book's craving for more space. They wanted deeper world lore, slower romance build-up, and a less abrupt finale. The insta-love and explicit teen sex scenes divided audiences. Some applauded the realism, others recoiled at the pacing and age. The ending's open thread sparked debate. Perfect thematic reflection of an unfair world for some, unforgiving cliffhanger for others. Whether you love it or hate it, Fable left readers feeling something strong. And isn't that the point? Should Fable for the End of the World be banned? Yes, for crimes against emotional balance. And no, because reading it is one of the most intense things you'll do all year. It's a tear your heart out, hold your breath, might ruin your therapist appointment kind of read. Still thinking about reading it? Just rip the Band-Aid off. You won't be okay, but you won't be bored. I reached for tissues at 3 a.m., whispering swear words into my pillow. I felt angry, sorrowful, invested. I found myself thinking I would die for these characters. Not because they're heroes. They're flawed, dangerous, and deeply human. They remind us how messy love can be when the world doesn't just try to break you, it tries to stream your breakdown. Imagine a screen adaptation of Fable where every waterlogged ruin glistens under neon floodlights, and the Lamb's Gauntlet is marketed like an ultra-violent esports event. Cast Inessa with someone whose eyes can convey fiery defiance, and Melanoy with a model of icy poise that cracks under pressure. A miniseries prequel could explore the first generation of angels and the birth of Karis as a corporate state. A sequel could follow Inessa and Mel as fugitives, align with rebel cells in the sunken remains of Chicago or the floating slums of what was once Miami. Would you watch that show? Because I'd cancel plans for it. Some questions won't shut up, no matter how hard you try to move on. They hang there like waterlogged ghosts refusing to sink. What exactly kicked off Karis' chokehold on everything? Was it runaway corporate loans? A backroom political coup? Something way worse, like a biotech disaster no one survived long enough to stop? What about the rest of the world? Are there survivor pockets beyond the Dominion of New England? And if so, what twisted beliefs keep them going? Who was the first angel to glitch? Was Melanoy just a fluke, or the start of something way bigger, something Karis can't unmake? And Luca and Lethe, what the hell happened to them after the blackout? These threads don't tie off clean. Reed left them hanging on purpose, either teasing us with spin-off fuel or daring us to fill in the blanks with our own messed up hope. What theory are you holding on to? Let's spiral together in the comments. So, you finished Fable for the end of the world. Your nervous system is shot, your emotional reserves are empty, and now you need something else to read while staring into the middle distance under a weighted blanket. Here's a handful of books that push the same buttons. Sapphic intensity, strange settings, and narrative choices that don't care if you're okay. Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. Necromancy meets sword duels with a relationship built on tension and the kind of betrayal that doesn't back down. This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal Etmatar and Max Gladstone, written in fragments and letters full of longing that stay sharp and quiet. Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nagan, built on trauma and resistance inside a rigid empire that rewards obedience with cruelty. An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon, takes place on a generational ship where social structure locks down identity. The tone is dense and unrelenting. The Glacier by Kim Liggett, a closed system forces girls into exile. The horror creeps in through isolation and group control. The Stars Are Legion by Cameron Hurley, grotesque and unflinching with biological terror layered into a decaying spacefaring world. The central relationship is hard to look at and harder to forget. These books don't match in genre, but they operate in the same emotional register. They keep the pressure on. They stay close. Now you spiral. You yell in the comments. Tell me if Mel deserves redemption. Tell me if Anessa should have run the other way. Or just drop your own favorite emotionally devastating queer reads so I can suffer too. Hit like if this book sent you into a moral tailspin. Subscribe if your TBR is 90% vengeance and vibes. And if you're currently in love with a fictional assassin who might not have a soul, honestly, same. Just maybe don't tell your therapist? Or do. I'm not here to judge, only to enable.